Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Quick question before we start. When you hear G20 Summit, what comes to your mind? A room full of leaders who look like they'd rather be anywhere else? Long speeches nobody listens to? Or just global drama? Well, the 2025 G20 Summit in Johannesburg had all of that, and a whole lot more. Trust me, this one wasn't your usual diplomatic buffet. It had tension, breakthroughs, a couple of awkward moments, and honestly, some decisions that might shape the next decade. So grab a coffee, or chai, or whatever keeps you awake, because I'm going to break down the summit like a normal human would, not a spokesperson reading from a teleprompter. And I want you to stay with me because I'll be asking you for your take along the way. Let's get right into it. Part 1. What actually happened? All right, first let's set the scene. Johannesburg, South Africa, November 22nd and 23rd. Historic already because it's the first G20 ever hosted on African soil. Now here's the interesting thing. Every year the theme is something super inspiring. Unity, cooperation, resilience, you name it. This year's theme? Solidarity, equality, sustainability. But the moment the summit opened, the biggest talking point wasn't even the agenda. It was the empty seat of the United States. Yeah, the US decided not to attend. They sent a low-level rep, and South Africa pretty much said, "Nope, we're not accepting the G20 gavel from someone who isn't your leader." And honestly, it was kind of iconic. If geopolitics had a mic drop moment, that was it. But anyway, drama aside, the summit still produced a 122-point declaration. That's a lot of pages nobody will ever read, so let me break down the ones that matter. That brings us to part 2, the big decisions. The first big decision was on debt relief and global finance reform. Okay, imagine you're a country, and your monthly income is 10,000 rupees, but your EMI is 12,000 rupees. That's the story of half the developing world. So the G20 leaders basically said, yeah, this system is broken. Italy actually stepped up and said they're open to cutting African debt by 50% over 10 years. Now, whether this actually happens, that's like saying you'll start the gym next Monday. Sounds great, but we've all seen how that goes. But jokes aside, this is big. If implemented, it could free billions for health, education, and infrastructure. Let me know below. Do you think debt relief ever actually happens? Or is it just political PR? The second big decision was on climate action and energy transition. Climate, or as I call it, that thing politicians talk about over microphones while holding plastic water bottles. This year, though, there was a noticeable shift. The buzzword was climate justice, meaning the countries suffering the worst climate disasters are the ones that did the least damage. G20 leaders backed an idea called a just transition. Simple English? If countries move away from fossil fuels, their workers shouldn't be thrown into poverty. There was also talk of a green transition fund, potentially hundreds of billions. Now, between you and me, the world has heard big climate promises before. Remember the $100 billion fund? Yeah, still waiting. The third big decision was on AI, tech, and digital governance. This was my favorite part, and if you use AI or follow tech, this is going to matter to you too. India pitched a global AI compact. Basically, let's not wait until AI becomes dangerous. Let's set rules now. Think deepfakes, scams, AI-driven terror, all that. Also, India, Canada, and Australia launched a partnership called ACITI, focusing on technology, green minerals, and innovation. Let me ask you this, and answer honestly. Are you excited about AI or scared of it? Because depending on that answer, this part of the summit could either make you feel relieved or very nervous. The fourth big decision was on peace, conflict, and UN reform. Now let's talk peace, because a summit like this can't avoid the elephant in the room: global conflicts. The G20 declaration called for peace in Ukraine, the Middle East, Sudan. Basically, everywhere there's a crisis right now. But one interesting moment: Argentina openly disagreed with parts related to the Middle East. And then came the familiar old topic: UN Security Council reform. Every year, the world says, we need to reform the UNSC. And every year, the UNSC says, that's cute. But this year, the message was stronger, led by Africa, India, Brazil, the global south. And honestly, the world is changing too fast for these old structures to keep up. Last but not the least decision was made on health security and future pandemics. India proposed something actually very practical, a kind of global rapid response health team. Think of it like a medical SWAT team that deploys during pandemics, disasters, or outbreaks. Given what we learned during COVID, this might be one of the most useful ideas to come out of the summit. Let me know in the comments. Do you think the world is ready for the next pandemic? Because I don't think we are. So, who stole the show at the G20 Summit? Cyril Ramaphosa, South Africa, delivered powerful messages about equality, poverty, and global fairness. But the viral moment? Rejecting the US gavel handover. Twitter X went wild. Narendra Modi, India. Modi used the summit as a platform to pitch global AI rules, a digital library of traditional knowledge, tech mineral partnerships, anti-drug terror networks. India positioned itself as a bridge between the West and the global South. France and Macron expressed concern that the G20 is losing relevance. And honestly, after this summit, it's a fair question. But was everything perfect at the summit? Not even close. Let us take a look at the controversies that surrounded the summit. Let's be blunt. The US skipping the summit was huge. It's like throwing a wedding and your best man sends his cousin instead. Some say it was political messaging. Some say it was scheduling. Some say the US just didn't like the direction of the declaration. Whatever the reason, it created tension. Argentina disagreed with parts of the declaration. Not surprising, geopolitics is messy. But it showed something important. Even the G20 can't find common ground on global conflict. Expert commentary from Reuters and DW pointed out that debt relief is promised every year, delivery is rare. Exactly like New Year resolutions. We love to announce them and forget them by February. All right, big picture time. What does this summit actually tell us about the future? 1. The global south is rising. This summit was not dominated by the US, EU, or China. It was led by Africa and India. That's a big shift. 2. Multilateralism is bruised, but alive. Even with disagreements, the G20 still produced a unified declaration. Barely, but still. 3. AI governance is officially global. Expect more conversations at UN and G20 levels in the coming years. 4. Climate politics now include justice, not just emissions, fairness, compensation, resilience. 5. Institutional reform is becoming unavoidable. The pressure on UNSC reform is louder than ever. So there you have it, the real story behind the 2025 G20 Summit. Not just decisions on paper, but the human tensions, the power plays, the ideas that might actually change the world. Before you go, I genuinely want to hear from you. Which part of the summit do you think matters the most? AI rules, climate justice, the US boycott? Drop it in the comments. I read every one of them. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more real talk geopolitics like this, hit like, subscribe, and share it with that one friend who thinks G20 is a Marvel movie. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.